Hello chess friends and welcome to Jozarov chess channel and welcome to a very special tournament that started today. Welcome to the FTX Crypto Cup tournament in 2022. This is now an event that's played by really strong Rae1 Grandmasters, and the concept of the tournament is a one round robin, but it's a different one round robin. They will not play one game per day. They will play a match of 4 games, and who is better out of the 4 games will eventually get the whole point. Then of course after 8 rounds, who will be best of course will then eventually win the whole event. So let's see now the day one. In the day one we had already the clash of the titans. It's now Anish Giri versus Magnus Carlsen. We are actually in the game 3. The game 3 was the most aggressive one. The first 2 games ended in a draw. The first 2 games, we have to say it, also were really interactive with some great skills, tactical skills by Anish Giri, but then of course with also good defensive ideas by the world champion Magnus Carlsen. So as I said, we're now in the game 3, and this was now already a critical game of this super match between the 2 top grandmasters. So let's see now what happened. Anish Giri versus Magnus Carlsen in the FTX Crypto Cup. So e4 was played by Anish, and Magnus' response was really surprise e6, although we have to say it, recently Magnus Carlsen pulled off very often the French defense, and I like his choices because Magnus Carlsen is really a great positional player, and of course in the French defense you have a firm structure in the center of the board, and eventually you have also some good counterplay ideas. So in the continuation we have d4, we have d5, and after move e5 we have now the advanced variation of the French. And okay, after move c5 we can notice that basically black is going into the normal strategy. This small pawn chain is showing us the direction of the attack, so black should coordinate the attack towards the queen side, and white of course should coordinate towards the king side the attack, because this small pawn chain is also showing the direction. So okay, in the continuation we have now the move c3, knight to c6. Magnus continues the pressure around the square d4, and here we have the so-called Paulson variation with the move knight to f3, of course protecting the d4 pawn. Further we want to play bishop to e2, or maybe even bishop to d3 if the position allows it, and then castle fast here on king side. So in the continuation Magnus plays bishop to d7, normally develops this light square bishop. This light square bishop is many times in the French defense a huge positional problem. So with this idea bishop to d7, Magnus is maybe trying to reroute somehow the bishop here to b5, try to trade it off, because when it comes to bishop strength we have to say this light square bishop is the worst minor piece of black's, but this bishop is very powerful because it supports the attack here around the square c5 d4. On the other hand, white's dark square bishop is not so good, because if it comes to e3 then it's a little bit paralyzed by its own pawn structure, but this light square bishop of white's is much better. For instance, if it comes on d3 then it has 2 great diagonals that it covers, so it's probably then the best minor piece on the board. So we have now bishop to e2 by Anish. We have knight to e7. Magnus continues the pressure around the square d4. This is normal stuff in the French defense. We have kingside castling, c takes d4, and now comes this idea knight to f5. And okay, sometimes you don't want to tolerate here this knight. You could maybe try this idea g4, but I kind of don't like it, because knight to h4, maybe knight to h4, queen to h4 invites now the queen into the game, and even if you don't react, black will simply reroute the knight here on g6, and eventually will maybe search for opportunities to get somehow the knight on f4. I don't like it, although you are playing basically in the spirit of the French defense. You are attacking the king side here, but this is not the way to go. This is simply, in my opinion, simply too slow attack. So in the continuation we had knight to c3 by Anish. So as I said, g4 in my opinion really not a good move. So we have rook to c8. Magnus Carlsen is still delaying the bishop's moves. He's first of all attacking still the queen side, where he's supposed to be better, of course. And now comes what is in my opinion the first inaccurate move. It's not a move that is, I think, winning the game immediately for black or something, but I kind of don't like it. It's now the move king to h1, and this move is really unnecessary. Although you are getting out of the attack, out of the potential attack here by the dark square diagonal, maybe with the queen. Maybe the queen could be used as an attacking piece on this diagonal, but so far you have not been challenged. So that's why I think it's a little bit losing your developing time. Maybe a slightly better idea is to play bishop to g5 immediately, or maybe h3, creating some breathing spaces. You can also try rook to e1, maybe as an opportunity to get somehow an attack on the e5 file. So okay, king to h1 was played by, as I said, in my opinion, slightly passive move here by Anish. So we have now a6. Magnus is now expanding on the queen side, so still he's attacking the queen side where he's better. He's trying some ideas of maybe b5, knight to a5, and then maybe to cement this knight on c4. This could be also beautiful square for the knight. So we have now bishop to g5. What you don't want to do here from black's perspective, you don't want to play bishop to e7. Basically, in this scenario, you would give up a good piece of yours against your opponent's bad piece. We have said that actually this dark bishop is not such a good piece, so that's why here queen to b6 was played by Magnus. He's simply continuing the pressure, and now he's also targeting the weak square on b2. So we have now knight to a4 by Anish. We have queen to a7. Okay, the queen is not supposed to be on the edge of the board, but the queen is a long range piece, and you see still the queen has a beautiful activity. Nothing went wrong so far in Magnus Carlsen's position. The queen at least cannot be attacked anymore by the minor pieces of white. So in the continuation, we have bishop to e3, and this is not a bad move here by Anish Giri. I really loved now this move. This was, in my opinion, the best move of Anish in the whole game. Knight to e3. If that happens, basically we have just improved our firm pawn structure in the center of the board, and we're keeping the position blocked in the center. And you know that actually the knights will love more the blocked out position. And now I think there is a huge tactical threat. Knight to g5, knight to f7, maybe including somehow the bishop into the game, bishop to h5, maybe even the queen into the game. Even if h6 happens, I'm sure there would be some kind of a tactic to even sacrifice something around the square f7. So that's why Magnus kept the position a little bit calm, played here simply bishop to e7, and prepared now here kingside castling. And now comes what is, in my opinion, one of the critical moments of the game. So here Anish played a3, and his goal is to play b4 and then maybe to play the move knight to c5. But Magnus sensed the idea here by Anish Giri. He smelled some blood, and that's why he kept the knight out of game. Now this goal is not working. Knight to c5. You would love, of course, to play the move. You would love to have now already your b4 pawn here, and then you would love, of course, to cement the position somehow around the square. But this is not working because, of course, bishop to c5, d takes c5, knight takes f3, f takes e3. And now look at this, queen to c5. This pawn is weak, this pawn is weak. So basically it's a position that I think white could resign immediately. So that's why you see these ideas are not working here for white. So that's why Anish retreated. But now Magnus simply castled out of the attack, and now this idea of b4, knight to a4, knight to c5 will never work now here for Anish. So bishop to d3, we have knight takes e3 now. We have f takes e3, and now b4. Here Magnus says, okay, I want to simplify the game now, because I got rid of this very annoying bishop on e3. But now this goal knight to g5, knight to f7 is not so dangerous because the bishop is covering the squares. And now Magnus Carlsen just keeping the tension here on the queen side. He's simply attacking the position further. We have a takes b4, knight to b4, and now comes what is really the huge mistake of Anish here. Basically, he gave up this best piece on the board. He played e4, and Magnus accepted the challenge and simply played knight takes d3. This is not good, because you have to, I think, here retreat with the bishop to b1. Still, maybe black is slightly better here because of the bishop pair, because of the potential attack here on the queen side, but at least you're keeping your bishop on the board. Now with the move e4, Magnus is saying, okay, knight takes d3, queen to d3. We have here d takes e4, knight to e4. But look at this now. Here Anish Giri is also kept with a backward pawn on d4. The position is getting more and more open. The bishops will come into the game, you see now, and this is really a beautiful position. Bishop to b5 so far is not working. Queen to b5, a takes b5, rook to a7 will happen, and of course white is winning the game. So that's why Magnus kept the game again a little bit calm. He played simply h6, not allowing one of this knights to get here on an active square on g5. So we have now rook to e1. Magnus simply continues the pressure on the queen side, where we have said where he's much better. Queen to d2, bishop to c6. Now the bishop comes on a beautiful diagonal. Now this light square bishop that's many times in the French defense. A bad piece becomes actually now the best minor piece of the whole in the whole position. So we have now queen to f4. Magnus continues a simple threat here against this pawn on b2. We have now rook to e2 and now a4. Magnus continues the pressure, as we said, queen to g4, and now after move queen to b5, rook to e1. Now Magnus simply continues the pressure against this rook on e1. So it's now easy for black to play the game. The rooks are really endangered here, and now Anish played sort of a desperate move, d5. Magnus Carlsen simply took bishop to e1, but here Anish tried some kind of a fork, knight to d4. He will eventually take out maybe the bishop, but Magnus played here really a beautiful counter attack. He played now queen to d3, and actually here the knight is hanging, the rook is a little bit loose, although even if you take here, of course the bishop still have the opportunity to escape with this bishop. So this tactical shot that Anish pulled off here is simply not working. So after queen to d3, here Anish simply took out this bishop on e1, but Magnus has now, of course, the opportunity to take the pawn on d5. Basically, back is up the whole exchange and has now, in my opinion, completely winning ending here. So Anish tried here the only way maybe to make something out of this position, knight to f6. This tactical shot wasn't possible in any moment of the game because black is getting simply out of the attack. Nothing special happened here. Here in the continuation we have knight takes d5, but now Magnus pulled off the beauty of the game. He didn't even take out here the knight on d5, because if you take, okay, knight to f5 seems tempting. Still black is much better. Black should be winning, but probably with knight to f5 maybe there are certain complications. But Magnus played here really a brilliant move. Maybe you can pause the video and try to see now the best continuation here for black. So try to see now really a wild continuation that Magnus Carlsen pulled off here. It's really a beautiful tactical shot. Okay, I hope you saw the move. It's queen to d2. It's a beautiful counter attack here. Anish tried queen to d1, pardon me, rook to d1, attacking the queen, but now with rook to c1 the game is over. Here you have only one move here to prolong the game, knight to c3, but now with queen to e1 Magnus Carlsen actually checkmated here Anish Giri. So the game was over in this position. Anish resigned. So brilliant game by the world champion in the French defense, destroying Anish Giri like this. But we have to say Anish played, I think, a couple of bad moves, really unnecessary moves. First of all, the move king to h1, then spicing up the game somehow with this move knight to a4, then allowing to take out the light square bishop, which was actually the best minor piece on the board. So okay, still Anish has some chances, because this was now only game 3. If now Anish wins the game with the black pieces against Magnus, maybe he can draw them the match game. So okay, I hope that you enjoyed this game as a warm-up. Really interesting ideas of the French defense. Magnus played it almost perfectly here. Really wild stuff when you think about it harder. This is rapid chess. Incredible performance again by the world champion. So okay, I hope that you enjoyed the game. If you want to see more attractive games from the past that we have covered, here's my playlist of our commented chess games. Here you can check out also some other tournaments, and if you like this content, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. See you soon with some more videos, and what to say, chess is the best, of course.